It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman. Day one of allergy season for me. That's what we'll call it. I don't know what I have. I think it's grass mold allergies. I've never really gone to the doctor for it or gotten shots or anything, but it's almost like clockwork. Around the 1st of May to the middle of June, and then it's gone. Went for a long walk with the dog yesterday after all that rain this weekend. Took in all that fresh air, got back to the house, sneezed about 30 times, and now my throat's paying for it. So feeling good. Everything is fine, but if my voice goes out a little bit today, it's allergies, and we will get that taken care of. I promise we will be here for you to do a fine show all the way through. And we're going to talk a little J.D. Vance coming up a little bit later. You heard Pete Mundo mention on his show a little while ago that they have formally announced an agreement in terms, 2 terms, with India on a trade agreement and tariffs. It is not finalized and signed yet by President Trump or the parties that need to sign it, Modi, for India, but it is formally agreed to, which is excellent. We'll get into that. Senator Van Halen is in the news again as some posts from Twitter in 2017 have surfaced. And it would appear, like many Democrats, he just changes his tune. Depending on the day, he's dealing with Donald Trump. And we're going to do cash for babies today. Is this a good idea? That's coming up a little bit later. There is a story and a subject that is moving around in many places. This was passed into law in New York a few years ago. Illinois is about to pass a law that is much like New York's that says a school or a team in the state of New York or Illinois cannot have a Native American mascot. You can't be the Chiefs, you can't be the Indians, you certainly can't be the Redskins or the Braves or any of these other things. Massapequa is a town in Long Island in New York, and they are losing the name and the mascot Chiefs. It's relevant here because I have believed for at least the last 15 years that at some point the Chiefs are going to lose their name, that it's going to be over, that those people somehow, some way are going to win, whether it's legally or the cultural shift or whatever it may be. We're making a big turn back the other way right now, which I like. People are saying, wait a second, the polling doesn't suggest that Native Americans are offended by most of these things, especially if it's Indians or Braves or Chiefs. Redskins could be offensive to many. It polls lowest of everything, and I think we could see why. It seems like a negative term, but I can't see how Indians or Braves or something of that nature is offensive, and polling suggests that it's not with Native Americans. But in New York, it doesn't matter. They've got a blanket law. It's been fought in court now for 2 years, and the school board of Massapequa has lost. The interesting note on this is a former board member in the Massapequa School District is Gary Baldinger, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs from 86 to 88 with his brother Rich. Gary was a defensive lineman and didn't spend a lot of time here, but he knows Rich still lives here. He's a Chiefs analyst and broadcaster at Spectrum Sports. And many people know Rich. He's been in our community for a long, long time. But Gary moved back to New York, where he had played, I think, a little bit professionally, then went back to New York. He's from Massapequa, eventually wound up on the school board, and he's very passionate about this, as you can imagine. But he's no longer on the board. So it's pretty interesting what's happening. Trump posted yesterday that he's going to do everything he can to save Chiefs in Massapequa. He's going to put Linda McMahon on it. He calls this thing utterly ridiculous. The Massapequa School Board president thinks it's insane. The people that live there hate it. They want to remain Chiefs. There's no real objection to this other than the law in the state of New York. Gary Baldinger, the recently retired school board member who played for the Chiefs, says the fight to keep the logo is now going to become stronger than ever. Quote, I think it's a great lesson for everyone, athletes, non-athletes, for anybody living in Massapequa, for anywhere for that matter. If you believe in something strongly, politically or not, and it's worth fighting for, then you keep moving forward. Hopefully this is the beginning of the end, and we're able to keep this. So this is where the story begins, not where it ends for me. Because Donald Trump is going to do everything that he can to get it changed. And I think this is one he should sit out. The reason I think he should sit this out is it doesn't take 3D chess to try to figure out the pieces on the board here and what this will look like. Trump has said a million times with Roe v. Wade or wherever it may be, I believe in states' rights. This is a states' rights issue. Does it stink in places like Illinois, New York, that their map is mostly red, that the city of New York City and the city of Chicago dominate their elections, dominate their state representatives, and dominate their state laws? Yeah, that stinks for everybody else in those states. But it is the way our republic operates. And if Trump was to go down this rabbit hole, what happens when Maine fights him on boys in girls' sports? Why wouldn't a school in Maine be able to decide we want to let boys compete against girls, even though the state says we can't? You're just now going to leave it up to the individual communities? And if that's what Trump stands for, then maybe he should come out and say, I'm not for states' rights like I once was, and I'm not for these other things. Now, I'm not being critical of Trump. I'm in lockstep with most of what Trump does. But I look at this one, and this one is going to have to take public outcry. It isn't going to be Donald Trump. And let me tell you something. He's going to hurt this school district and this school if he gets involved in a big way, because they will dig in New York, and they've already won at every turn in the courts. The courts will support the state of New York for passing a law that says you can't have the name Chiefs or Indians or Braves or any of them in a school in New York. The only thing, when I say public outcry, that will really get the ball moving in this regard is Native Americans. If they believe their culture is being stripped away in the United States of America, this will end quickly. If you want to do anything, you call on tribal areas and private schools on reservations, and you have them step up and say, we're insulted by this in public school districts. There's a school in Arizona called Red Mesa High School. Red Mesa High School is still the Redskins. It's a public school. It's in the northwest, I think. It's in the northeast part of Arizona. It's in a remote area, and it's a completely Native American area, but it is a public high school, the Red Mesa Redskins. And they are unanimous on this. They don't want to change the name. They're not offended by Redskin, and they don't want to change it because they love their history, and they're proud of it. There is no such law in Arizona that says they can't, so they step up. Most polling around the country with Native Americans shows that they're in favor of keeping these names, that they didn't want the Cleveland Indians to change their name, that they didn't want Shawnee Mission North High School to change their name. But a woke and liberal school board in Shawnee Mission School District allowed Shawnee Mission North to change its name to Bison from Indians, which is ridiculous because guess where the complaint came from? The original complaint and the people behind getting it changed that got the ball rolling in the school board were not in the district. They weren't even in the state. They came from Oklahoma. It was a woke group of Native Americans that also used to hassle the Chiefs quite a bit and would have demonstrations on game day and throw paint and do all kinds of weird things and say the Chiefs need to change their name. And that's when we all thought, the Chiefs are in trouble. Well, the Chiefs started spending millions and millions of dollars to Native American charities. They began outreach programs with different tribes throughout the Midwest. Native American population in 4 or 6 states around the Kansas City Chiefs love the fact that it's the Chiefs. They beat a war drum, before every game. And they embrace that as part of their culture. And they now see the Chiefs as honoring their culture through American football. And it's a compliment. We have to turn the tables on this and say these things are not insults. If Redskins is offensive, let's dump Redskins. I won't go to the mat on that. Chiefs, Braves, Indians. Why? Billy the Kid, in his own way, was a cowboy, right? We don't take cowboy names away because he was bad or it's an insult or you can't be a cowboy because, let me tell you something, there were a whole lot of cowboys in this country who did really, 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 really bad things and maybe shouldn't be honored because they were bad people. The Las Vegas Raiders are basically pirates. So are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They pillage and plunder and steal and rob and kill. And we honor them as mascots. It's a sports team, for crying out loud. Now, if you don't want your culture caricaturized like the Pittsburgh Pirates or whatever, great. I don't know who the Pirates are right now. The only Pirates I know on earth right now are in Somalia. That's all I hear is Somali pirates. That's all I hear. So I don't know that there's anyone really to offend. But all of these things can be construed as offensive. How about the Royals? The Royals, it could be misconstrued that they are named after the royal family. We broke off from the UK and the royal family and had people bloodied and died in a revolution to start our own country. We were so offended by a king. This country was founded on being offended at royals. And yet it's the name. We don't take offense to it. We get it. It's a caricature. It's a mascot. These fights are tricky, and the politics of it are even stranger for Donald Trump. I love the fact that he sees things big and small and is not afraid to get involved in something small. I feel like this is too big for him to be posting about and saying he's going to put Linda McMahon in charge of Massapequa High School. I don't think that's really high on the docket at the White House right now, or at least it wouldn't be for me. But Trump's a New Yorker. That's part of his city. That's part of his hometown. Long Island's part of New York City, essentially. It's the suburbs. It's out on Long Island. These people are all in agreement. They do not want to change their name. The state is making them. So he, as president, now wants to fight the state of New York. If he does that, he's building the opposite case for what he's doing in Maine, where he's telling Maine that boys shouldn't be competing in girls' sports. And he wants to strip them of their federal funding for it. This is where the other side gets a very real argument against Donald Trump. I think he should back off this issue and let it go away. It's one high school in one place. This is either going to be culturally decided by Native Americans, or liberal states are going to keep passing laws and say you can't have a Native American name. Of course, the disappointment and the irony of the entire situation is it's largely liberal white people who live in guilt for everything that are changing these ways. It is not the Native American population. They're generally not for this, and they don't want to see it go away. We should call on them, because guess what school they're not changing the name of? The Red Mesa Redskins. I'd like to see the state of New York have an all Native American high school with a Native American mascot and apply that law to them. They must not have one. But man, that would be glorious. If this spreads the land, it could get to New Mexico, which is largely Democrat, loaded with Native American high schools with Native American names and mascots. I don't even think they'd bring this up in a place like that. But of course, the state of New York was loaded with tribes, all kinds of different Native Americans. Massapequa is the name of the high school, for crying out loud. And yet the city of New York City, in its liberal bent, is changing everything for everyone in the state. Politics are tricky. It's not always as easy as it sounds when you listen to KCMO Talk Radio. I'm guilty of this too. I have a tendency to cherry pick one issue, lock onto it, and say, that dude is an MS-13 member. It's on his knuckles. He's been in 3 courts that have declared he's an MS-13 member. He's been in 2 different police departments that have sources that say he's a gang member. He was found with drugs and cash hanging out with MS-13 members. It's pretty easy to say that guy's an MS. I get dug in on a story like that. Those can be pretty much cut and pasted, and they're pretty easy. Sometimes things like this are very dicey, and I worry that Trump's getting out over his skis on this one because it's the opposite of what he's trying to argue with boys in girls' sports. Love to hear your thoughts. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled. I'm Kevin Keatsman on KCMO Talk Radio. Man, this place is nice, Mark. We're lucky to work here. I found some nice green tea down there in the, was that a break room at a commissary? What is that?
I call it the kitchen.
Man, there's a lot of coffee in there, a lot of snacks.
Yeah.
There's like bags of Cheez-Its laying around.
Oh, yeah. Our guy Jake hooks us up.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just stuff in there. I don't go down there much. This tea's good on the throat here today. I like that. Very nice. We're going to the phones, and we're going to start today with LB in Leawood. Good morning, LB. How are you?
Good, Kevin. How are you?
Fine, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for your remarks about every topic you bring up, which are very prescient, always fitting. But I asked Alexa what the team name for Haskell American Indian University is over here in Lawrence, and it's the Fighting Indians.
Right.
So it's hypocrisy to try and remove or downgrade these titles to which actually honor the American Indian, which obviously was mistreated through the centuries.
Well, I agree with your point. Hypocrisy is probably not the right word. That would be of Haskell, was trying to do it or not do it. This is a bunch of woke white people that want to do this.
Right.
They think America's a sinful place that has done nothing but harm to the world for 250 years. That's what they believe, and they want to change everything about her. And they hate all of our traditions, all of our excellence. They want us to be a one world partner, basically. And that's not hypocrisy on their part. That's just who and what they are. My point is, I don't think a bunch of woke white people in state government should have a whole lot of say in whether or not Native American names are used at high schools. Shouldn't the state at that point do the right thing and just defer to the school district? Like, I've got no real complaint with Shawnee Mission North. I was on an athletics scholarship board there, and I quit. I resigned over this, okay? I'm upset with my high school. I'm done with them. But I'm done with the district, all right? That wasn't the state of Kansas. That was a woke school board that made a poor decision. Well, we can either change that or not change that at a lower level. But when the state says something like New York, that Massapequa, where locally it's popular and they want it, and there's no opposition to it, zero, and it can't happen, that's when government becomes oppressive, and that's when a bunch of woke white people think they're smarter than Native Americans who really think it's honorable in many cases.
Right. And I just listened to a biography of Jim Thorpe, the greatest athlete of all times, and he started at Haskell. He was from Oklahoma, but then he went to Carlisle in Pennsylvania, and the sole purpose of the government was to assimilate these people into our society and system and culture.
And I agree with you that that's historically what happened, and liberals will tell you it was a terrible thing, that it was mean, and in many cases it was. Shawnee Mission North is Shawnee Mission North. You want to talk about something that was really not great? That's the Shawnee Indian Mission. Okay, that wasn't great. We're preserving that history. That was not great for Native Americans around here. I'm just telling you, it wasn't. It absolutely was not. And it was not a great experience for a lot of them. Here's Kevin in Lee Summit. Good morning, Kevin.
Morning, Kev. No, I wanted to say is what the liberal left wants to do, it's the same old playbook from the KKK on up. They're pushing the same narrative, but they're trying to label it differently. And they use cancel culture as a guise to they're truly the racists. It's all honorable. I went to Fort Osage High School, Fort Osage Indians, and it's honorable to me. All these team names, the Washington Redskins, it's all an honor. They cancel the Land O'Lakes. They get rid of the Indian, Aunt Jemima, on and on and on. They use their cancel culture because they don't want it to exist, and they use the guise of racism in order to do it when they themselves are the racists.
I think what they've done is they recognize that culturally we're shifting. There's been a turn over the last decade away from this, that woke is not popular. It's not popular with young people. What they've done in blue states is pass laws like this. That's what's dangerous to me is in New York, they've passed a law that says you can't keep this name. That's worse than having an opinion and changing public opinion. Public opinion, I'm fine with. If that's what they can do and put that agenda on people, good luck. When they start putting laws in place, that's oppressive. Yeah. And they are racist by definition because all they see is race. And when you see everything through a prism of race, you are by definition a racist.
100%.
Excellent call, Kev. 100%. Thank you, sir, man. I appreciate it. Very much so. Thank you. Here's Jonathan in Kansas City. Good morning, John.
Yeah, this reminds me. I mean, you made a good point. You started going down that road to absurdity, which, I mean, I don't know the horizon to that road. We got to get rid of this team name because of this team name. It reminds me of George Orwell's book, 1984, where you have one party in power, the party, and they start renaming everything, and we can't have history anymore. And they tell us, well, this is what happened last week when it wasn't what happened. And they put a government agency, a bureau in charge that says, hey, we got to regulate what people think and what people say. I mean, this is dangerously down the road towards that, which is really amazing because I thought liberals used to be the party of free speech. It really is amazing how far we've come along and how upside down.
I didn't do that. He just dropped. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think the difficult part here, again, is the fact that they're passing laws now. Again, if the people in the Shawnee Mission School District don't like this, they can change it. They can vote the board out, and a new board in could change the name at Shawnee Mission North back to Indians. That would be easy to do if you could get control of the school board, right? But it takes enough people that are upset about it to make that happen. And to this point, nobody's really done that. There are other school districts, or there's other areas of the school district, Shawnee Mission South, the other schools. You'd have to convince those people too and elect the right people on your school board that you don't like this. The problem is this: New York City is controlling the entire state of New York, and that's why they have this problem in Long Island. Uncanceled continues on KCMO Talk Radio. Welcome back to Uncanceled. Thanks for being with us on this soon-to-be 80-degree day. How spectacular is that? Spring is here. We love that. We're going back to the phones in just a moment. A tweet has resurfaced from 2017. Senator Van Halen from Maryland, who went to El Salvador to see Kilmore, the MS-13 gang member. He tweeted in 2017 about Donald Trump, quote, "It's important to go after MS-13. Basically said, shame on Trump. Quote, he should have focused on MS-13, not scholarship winners. His point was that dreamers need to be left alone, and he should be going after MS-13. And now here he is going after MS-13, and he's trying to stop it, because of course he is. Here is Mark in Shawnee. Welcome to Uncanceled. Good morning, Mark. Mark, are you there? I got the wrong one. I got him messed up. Jeff is in Shawnee. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, no problem. I'll be on, Mark. Hey, great show. Hey, I've talked to you before about Shawnee Mission North. You know, like the other caller said, we canceled Land O'Lakes, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, the Confederate flag. Their life hasn't got any better. The liberals' lives haven't got any better. Every time I drive by North, me and my wife graduated from there, my son graduated from there. When I drive by there, I just get so disappointed, man. There's no reason to change these things. Like I said, nothing's gotten any better, so just let it be. And like you said, you canceled the Shawnee Mission Indians. Nobody will know the history of the Indians.
No, you're right. And unfortunately, you know, I come from a sports background and sports culture, and it's steeped in tradition. America's steeped in tradition as well. A lot of things are, but nothing really quite like that with sports fans. They all love the tradition, the excellence of their team, the beginnings of it all, and all that. And when you start to take that away from people, it's just not normal. That's not what human beings want. We love to respect our culture, our heritage, our traditions, and our history. And there's nothing more than that than the American culture. And we definitely have our own culture now. We've been around 250 years. We don't have to just see ourselves as a melting pot. We can be a melting pot, but we have our own culture and language and traditions. And we should embrace those and grow those.
Yeah, it's sad. And when they were changing from North Indians to Bison, I actually got a hold of somebody on Marketplace, and I bought every basketball uniform with Shawnee Mission North on it through them.
Nice.
Just trying to keep it going, man. But it's
good work.
sad.
Good work, man.
Great show.
Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate that, Mark. Certainly do. So, Jeff, I get this. This board is so messed up to me. Now we got Mark and Shawnee. Hi, Mark. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm doing good. Great show. Great topic. I wanted to comment first. You talked about that 80-degree weather. I'm getting nervous because I run through cemeteries and trim as fast as I can go with headstones. But you know what drives me is that warrior spirit. And you know what I think about when I think of Indians? I think of a warrior. I think of somebody who fought valiantly. They had their place in history in this country. And you know what drives America is the warrior spirit. The people that believe that I can do something that they say I can't do. And when I see that Indian with his fist, with his tomahawk or his bow and arrow raised in the air and that horse raised up, my hair stands up on my hands because I think that's what America's all about. They're racists. They're trying to ruin take away that image, that power of an Indian who was fierce in battle. And that's a shame.
Man, I love your passion. I do have to ask you before I let you go, how fast do you mow the cemetery, and why so fast?
Well, I trim and I mow. The real struggle is trimming. And last year we kept track. I got guys that'll run with me. They're 19, 20, 30, and they're skilled. And we'll do 19 to 22 miles in a day with a weed trimmer as fast as you can go around headstones. You don't make any money if you can't move fast. And it's a brutal. I fell. I stepped in a hole. I tore a piece of labrum out of my thigh. I don't know what they're going to do. So you got to – it's a tough job. I'll just tell you that. But there's a lot of tough jobs in America, but we need that symbol. We need that look, that vision, that idea that we can conquer. And that's why America's so great, because we have millions of people that think that way.
Excellent call. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Here is Sandy in Smithville. Good morning, Sandy.
Hi, this is a very good topic. And, I heard someone mention Uncle Ben. Why are these people not proud of their history and their ancestors for being on a syrup bottle? I don't understand why it's also negative.
They are, but it's not them.
Don't
Sandy, it's not them. It's not the Native Americans. The polling shows it's not them.
No.
It's a bunch of woke white people that have been elected in big cities.
Well, that's very true. Very true. Very true. I got that. But, oh, gosh, I forgot what I was saying. Well, I totally forgot. Oh, I know it. Why was I not, why were these people not around when people were opting to take down statues from history from certain, parks and government places and whatnot? I didn't get to vote on that. That's not fair either.
You don't get to vote on.
We can't change it.
Okay, good call. Thank you, Sandy. I really appreciate your call. I can't overstate this. It isn't about the individual issue. It's about who you elect and what they stand for. That's why we vote for conservatives or Republicans. Or maybe we need to rebrand the party. Maybe we should make it the traditional party or something like that. Maybe it needs I've thought about that many times before. Not right now because it's going well, but when times are bad, I'm like, maybe the party should be rebranded about what we are. Or how about the Constitution Party or something like that? I don't know. But you don't get to vote on whether a statue comes down. You don't get to vote on whether or not a high school changes its name. But you elect people in your state that run your state, which is why so many conservatives are leaving blue states and heading to red states. Red states are getting redder. That's not going to help New York. It's too late for them. New York City rules everything in the state of New York. They've got control of it. You can't vote on whether or not to keep the name Massapequa Chiefs on Long Island. That's the whole point. And now if Trump goes and gets involved, he's going against a states' rights issue. It is absolutely the right of the state to put that law in if they passed it. And they did. And the majority of the people in New York supported these politicians that did that. If you don't like it, you can throw them out. But this doesn't seem like an issue of a high school name that's going to throw a whole lot of people out of the state government. That's the problem with electing woke people. They will use it for things that nobody can even think of. This is Mark in Overland Park on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Mark.
Good morning, Kevin. I'm coming from the financial aspect on the Shawnee Mission North Indians. If you look at what they spent changing the name on the gym floor, the letterhead of their stationery, the signage out front, as a taxpayer, we all paid for that, and nobody. The consequences of spending other people's money over a non-issue.
And did you vote for school board?
Yes.
Okay, and did you know who you were voting for? Because most people don't know who they're voting for. They just go vote.
The last two times, yes. Before that, no.
It should. It absolutely should be a state law, and I've told Mike Thompson this. I've told all kinds of people this. State of Kansas, state of Missouri, it should be a law. Nobody can be on a ballot in the state of Kansas for any office that you vote on without Republican, Democrat, or other by it. You can pick whatever you want. You cannot be independent. That's BS. It's dumb. You got to pick another party. You're green, you're whatever. Pick what you are and put it on the ballot and let people know that. That absolutely should be a law in Kansas. What would be wrong with that? People vote for school board and judges all the time. We have no idea what we're voting for. And yes, ultimately it's our fault. We have personal responsibility to find out who we're voting for. But you know what? People are busy. And I'm going to guess most of the people in the district would rather not have a woke school board in Shawnee Mission, but they don't really know who to vote out.
Nope, I agree with you, Kevin. It's our responsibility to inform ourselves and get out and actually vote.
Yep. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. I do not understand how we want honest elections and we load ballots up. The ballot in November in Arizona was 40 pages long. Part of their collecting the votes thing on Election Day is how long it takes people to vote. It was 40 screens. They just kept going through on all these small little things, everything, everywhere. I don't know how we have, when we go to vote, sometimes 20, 30 different questions or elections where we don't know the party of the person we're voting for. How can this be? And it isn't like we're really a country of 5 parties or 7 parties or whatever, where people go and find out which is the one they like. Most people are Republicans or Democrats, and they want to know that when they go in. Well, the woke people, the liberals in America have found weak spots at the lowest levels. They found it on school boards. They found it on city councils. They found it in county commissions. They've got it everywhere where they stack up the vote with a whole bunch of, liberals on there and maybe one candidate that's conservative, and you don't know who that is. Again, it's our responsibility to know, but people are not going to do that. People aren't going to do it. It's a fact. There's just a lot of people that wanted to go vote for president, and now all these other things are on the ballot. I don't know. I don't know who my school board rep is. Should I know? Yeah. I know who my city councilman is. I know my county commissioner. I guess that's good enough. I don't know what to do about the school boards. That's not going to help the people in New York. That's not exactly what this issue is. There are places, California, New York, Illinois, clearly they are as blue as they are because of their major cities and the amount of population there and the infiltration of illegal aliens or importation of anybody that's become citizens. They have groomed their states to be more and more Democrat. That's what they've done. But I don't know how to go about changing the Shawnee Mission School District Board. I'm going to guess there's a lot of people who like to do that, and they wouldn't be successful. I'm also going to guess when you have things like name changes and a vote that's coming up, they wouldn't be pushing the name change if they had to put a D by their name to run for school board. If Democrat and Republican was on the school board vote in Johnson County, in Shawnee Mission School District, they would have never changed that name. The Democrats could not have run on it. They couldn't have run on that issue. They didn't. They just got control of the board and did whatever the hell they wanted. I guess that's how it works when you try to have secretive elections where you don't exactly know who you're voting for. We've got more Uncanceled coming up on KCMO Talk Radio. We come back. Bonus babies? Cash for having a child? Next on KCMO. You may recall Pete Mundo was talking yesterday on his show about the story that I think NBC picked up, was written by the Associated Press, about Kansas City being a government hub with fewer than 30,000 government workers. And I think 238 have taken buyouts and 100 IRS agents or something have been affected, but it's not a very big number at this point. And it was really blown up like it's a massive deal. I talked about this on my podcast today. Kevin Keatsman Has Issues. And I find it amazing that we really haven't felt anything economically in Kansas City, but they're focusing in on how DOGE is hurting Kansas City and government workers more than most places, which I'm not sure I understand. It's less than 30,000 workers. Most of them are going to all keep their jobs. It's not like they're all just going to lose their jobs, and there's been nothing devastating happen yet. But then we get a story like this where nobody's paying attention to it. In Los Angeles, Mayor Karen Bass just cut 400 civilian jobs in the police department in Los Angeles because they're broke. They're broke. So we can either cut these things with DOGE and save ourselves in the future, or we can wait until we're completely broke and people just lose their jobs and have no chance at a buyout or anything like that. How is Kansas City somehow with 100 IRS agents or whatever it is and 238 people that have taken buyouts a bigger story now nationally than 400 police jobs cut in Los Angeles? I don't know, but it is. Also, Donald Trump is floating the idea that he wants to give $5,000 to every woman that has a baby. We need a baby boom, he says. This sounds like the worst idea I've ever heard of. Maybe I could change my mind if somebody shows me why this is a good thing. He also wants to give away scholarships to these people, Fulbright scholarships. If you are married, having a baby, or have had a baby, they would like to help you get a Fulbright scholarship and go to college. $5,000 per mom? I mean, Mark, do you think people would just get pregnant to get the $5,000, not knowing that it costs more than that to raise a kid?
I would hope not, but you never know.
Take a guess.
There would be some.
There would be a lot, is the answer. There would be a lot. And I don't know whether that money is up front during your pregnancy or whether it's the day the baby's born or whatever, but you wouldn't believe what a lot of people would do for $5,000. I like a lot of Trump ideas. Again, I don't know the details in this. Maybe this is a really good plan and there's something good behind it that I don't know about yet, so I'll stay open to it. But on the surface, it sounds like a horrible idea. All right, on to the fun stuff, Mark. Here we go. Do you know who won the Boston Marathon yesterday?
It was a KU runner, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to botch the last name.
I was going to say, I didn't know the name.
Sharon, either Lokedi or Lokdai. She is from Kenya. And from 2015 to 19, She was a long-distance runner at KU, where she won 12 Big 12 championships in 4 years. The 10,000 meters was her specialty, but there were relays and other events that she was in. When she got out, she became a real distance runner. She went to marathon training. There are actually schools for this. Under Armour sponsors her. She works for Under Armour. And she learned how to run marathons. She entered her first marathon in 2022. So this would have been 3 years after leaving KU. And she wins the New York City Marathon.
That's impressive.
And yesterday she won the Boston Marathon and set the record, the course record. And she ran right here at KU. Congratulations to Emily Curiel from the Kansas City Star. Emily's a sports photographer, and she took a photograph at Arrowhead Stadium during that playoff game, the cold one, the Chiefs playing the Dolphins, where Mahomes got pounded. He's running to his right. He's headed right toward Emily, the photographer, and the safety for the Dolphins comes over to Sean Elliott and just smashes Mahomes. Part of the smashing was his helmet hitting Mahomes in his jaw, and his jaw kind of goes sideways. It was not a dirty hit. It wasn't ruled a flag or anything like that. She entered that in the competition. A lot of media outlets around the world enter for Sports Photograph of the Year for 2024 internationally. This is a global award, and she won with the Patrick Mahomes photo.
And that's the one where part of his helmet flew off,
It
right?
did. You couldn't see that in the photo. It was coming. It was going to come off. It was the impact moment. So the helmet had not started flying yet.
Okay.
I'm sure she got pictures of the helmet flying too.
Yeah.
But the one that was entered was the one right as it doesn't look like he's being hit hard in this picture, which is crazy because his jaw is like, ah. It's pretty cool. And she was obviously in the right place, right time, but that's 90% of sports photography.
Yeah.
Anticipating the action, what's coming, and getting it right. Do you take pictures of your daughter's sporting events?
Sometimes I'll do video. I with the phone, it's hard to do, and with another little baby running around, it's also hard to do.
Would you ever consider getting like a real camera and trying to get some great photos of them while they're young?
My
playing
wife
sports?
does some photography.
Excellent.
She doesn't do sports photography, but mostly family stuff. But yeah, it's fun to do.
Pete's wife's a photographer, right?
I think so.
That's all right. John says yes.
Yeah, we'll have to ask.
John says yes. Yeah. I think photography's cool, and I'm okay at it. I would consider myself be amateur, but when I first got it, when you were in college, and then when I got out of college, we had to learn how to shoot photographs for the newspaper, video for the TV station, all that. And then I was a sports photographer for several years. So you kind of get an eye for the things. I was never great at it, but like these group photos where everybody's lining, okay, we're here at Arrowhead, let's take one picture. I'm like, nope, well, the sun's got to be this way. Let's move a little. Like, no, I'm not. I'm just dangerous enough to get the shot okay.
I saw King Griffey Jr. got a nice shot of Rory after
he sure did.
That was kind of cool.
He sure did. That's so awesome that he's a sports photographer. Did you see Shaq last night on TNT, the NBA playoff?
I did not, but I heard about it.
Do you want to tell what happened to Shaquille O'Neal?
Oh, go ahead.
Shaquille O'Neal's sitting on the set. They're talking about the game, and he goes, uh-oh. And he pushes away, and he steps away, and he starts walking. And Charles Barkley says, there's that olive oil diet, Shaq. He had maybe the runs. I don't know what he had.
Yeah.
He started running,
Oof.
and they showed him all the way down the hallway and going through a door to the men's room. And Chuck hollers, don't forget to light the matches. Justin Thomas won a golf tournament on Sunday with a 22-foot putt at the end. He had the thing on his wrist or bicep. His heart rate was 128 beats per minute when the putt went in. I love that in sports. Thank you, Mark. You're the best. John Anthony, Pete Mundo, all the team here at KCMO. Have a great day. The Vince Show is coming up next.